So good morning, my name is Lange. I am a licensed practitioner here and a happy member of Golden Gate Center. Would you please put your cell phones on church mode and take a few minutes and say hello to somebody in your is or was, she's patron saint of Golden Gate Center. Master practitioner, teacher of teachers, mother of our former minister, Carol, and she passed away 10 years ago in December this year. So I'm proposing some kind of little memorial service when that happens. Mary talked about treatment the whole last month, and I picked up this book along the way called Treat Yourself to Life by Raymond Charles Barker. I probably need to say a little bit about him before I read something to you from it. He was a minister of a big mega church in New York City, Science of Mind Church. He was a former unity minister who made the move to religious science and with Ernest Holmes. Impressed, I think, by the model for affirmative prayer that Ernest Holmes contributed to the New Thought movement. It was probably the major contribution that he made that was really a difference. So this book, I recommend it to you. It is full of the chapters go like this. Treat yourself to happiness, treat yourself to wealth, love, success, freedom, life. And this little bit is the very end of chapter 4, which is treat yourself to this day. I'll read it to you. I evolve spiritually in exact ratio to the number of seconds per day that I am thinking rightly, thinking of God, thinking of good. Now, two things strike me about that. One, it's really hopeful, because he's talking about seconds. We're not monks. We don't get to think normally in terms of years or even days or weeks or months. Seconds. And the other thing is that every single second, if that is part of your spiritual evolution, every single second that you're thinking rightly makes it really powerful. So we're going to continue with the service now. That's enough from me. Would you please join me in the opening chant? The morning prayer is being offered this morning by Reverend Sarah.
And please stand. Bobby took me off to something this morning. Oh, am I on? Am I on back there, guys? Okay, no, I am. Bodie took me off to something this morning. He said, since they know now that you're going to ask them to change their seats, they sit somewhere else, and then when you have them change seats, they go to their familiar seat. That is so much what we do with habits, isn't it? It's like we temporarily stand someplace else to lose weight, but then we go right back to the way we used to eat, and we're frustrated because we gain weight again. You can't repeat the old stuff and still make a change. So if you are sitting in a familiar seat, or if you're not and you intended to go to a familiar seat, move now and go to an unfamiliar seat. Perhaps if you're really brave, sit with somebody you don't know. If you came with people you do know. And so go ahead, shuffle yourselves around, and then we're going to sing. If you're already in your seat, okay, we'll let that pass. All right? And so we're going to stand and sing Love Is My Decision. Let's make our voices present in the space together, share and join our vibrations. Here we go. Love is my decision.
learn to live in love. May we learn to forgive every day. May we come from the place where there's no need to blame. May we recognize that deep inside we're all the same. May we learn to live in love. May we learn to forgive every day. May we come from a place where there's no need to blame. May we recognize that deep inside we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all the same.
As we move into the opening prayer, I just want to acknowledge how inventive Spirit is, as I had chosen love as the theme for the prayer this morning. And I have a quote from Ernest Holmes: "Declare that all life, all love and power are in your life." And then from Richard Bach: "To bring anything new into your life, imagine that it's already there." So in this awareness, we give thanks that Spirit is truly all there is, everywhere present, every moment, everywhere. And we give thanks for knowing that this is a friendly universe, that the infinite intelligence is always guiding and supporting us each moment with love and ease and joy. So we simply open our hearts to that joy, to be supported by that infinite intelligence, that infinite power, knowing that we are guided and directed as to what to do and not to do at each moment of our life. And we open our minds to the wisdom of the infinite, coming through us, as us, each moment of every day, in each decision, in each place. And we open our bodies to the healing power of that love and that healing energy, knowing that all that needs to be harmonized and healed is now harmonized and healed for our higher good and expression. So accepting this is already true, we simply wait for wonderful reports and delightful surprises as life unfolds as each of us. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is. Amen.
May we learn to forgive every day. May we come from the place where there's no need to blame. May we recognize that deep inside we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all the same. Yeah, it's really nice to see everybody in different seats. I really see people. You see people differently.
Yeah.
We see ourselves differently, and other people see us differently.
That's true.
Jay is right here. Yes.
Ciao.
So this is a famous James Taylor song that I thought would be fun to sing today. You can sing it with me. though it wasn't written for you. Tell me, how can you stand there with your broken heart, ashamed of playing the fool? One thing can lead to another, doesn't take any sacrifice. Oh, father and mother, sister and brother, if it feels nice, don't think twice. Just shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be just fine if you only will. What I say now, shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. You can run, but you cannot hide. This is widely known. And what you gonna do with your foolish pride when you're all by yourself all alone? But you tell somebody the way that you feel, you feel it beginning to ease. I guess it's true what they say about the squeaky wheel, always getting the grease. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. They're gonna be just fine if you only will. What I say now, shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Things are gonna be much better if you only will. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Let me sing it. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Now really sing it. Shower the people you love with love. Yeah. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love now. Show them the way that you feel. Let it rain. Shower the people you love with love, yeah. Show them the way that you feel. Let it rain. Rain on down with love. Shower the people you love with love now. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Look at someone else. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Smile. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. So sweet. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love. Show them the way that you feel. Shower the people you love with love.
Thank you, Buddy and Amanda. lot of showering taking place. You know, ministers like to support one another, and so I'm going to tell you a little story in just a minute. But first, I want to invite the membership people up here. Who's on membership this morning? Maria's here, and Jerry's here. I want to welcome those of you who are with us for the very first time this morning, and good morning out in YouTube land, wherever. Hello, good morning to our cameras that we're working with this morning, and welcome to all of you, and particularly if you're with us for the very first time this morning. We'd like to give you a little bit of information about us, and it has no tracking devices in it or anything. If you just give a wave, our Jerry and Maria will come and bring you a packet, and it's got a card in it that's good for a free gift. So give us a wave if this is your first Sunday. No, really? Well, these folks are here from Naples for the first time, so they're going to go back to Naples, Italy in a few days, but that's great. And if you want to be on the mailing list, you can fill out the blue card, take it back to the membership table, and they're going to give you one of these little books called What Religious Science Teaches. So this is a free gift, and we'd love to have you on the mailing list. That way you know what's going on here, even when you're far away. So thank you for that. All right. So we're in a cycle right now with all of Centers for Spiritual Living celebrating 100 years of Science of Mind this year, because it's 100 years since our founder, Ernest Holmes, published his first book, which was Creative Thought. And so although the Centers for Spiritual Living are not yet 100 years old, because when he was writing and speaking initially, he had no idea that a spiritual organization was being created. But ultimately, that's what happened. Now, in general, we as Centers for Spiritual Living are following certain themes each month. But I'm deviating from the Centers for Spiritual Living theme this month because we're going to be going in a special direction, September, October, November. So this month, we're talking about the power of intention. I don't know if you can see this, but she's an archer. She has an arrow here. Her target is way over here. So this month we're talking about the power of intention, and thinking about how ministers who have been around for a while like to help and assist the younger ones at getting better at what they're doing or feeling more confident. So there were a couple of ministers at a conference, and one of the ministers was a young guy who was supposed to get up and make his first presentation. And he'd never been to a conference like this before. And he was sitting next to a seasoned minister, and he was feeling very nervous. And the elder preacher noticed that the young man was feeling really nervous before his turn at the pulpit. And he just turned to him and said, "Don't worry, my friend, God will provide." Well, the young man said, "Sir, you don't understand. I've never preached at a conference before." And the old preacher nodded, and he replied, "Don't worry, my son, God will provide." And the younger man said, "I was so nervous I forgot my Bible and my sermon notes at home. I can't remember anything." And the older fellow said, "Here, take my Bible, young man, and remember, God will provide." So the young preacher took the Bible, and he stood up behind the podium, and he preached the most magnificent sermon you've ever heard, complete with illustrations and examples to go with all the Bible stories that he was using. And then he stepped down, and he handed the Bible back to the older preacher. And the veteran said, "Young man, you just used my sermon notes for tonight's talk." And the relieved young preacher smiled and responded, "God will provide." So, intentions. We want to talk about intentions this morning. What is, and the question I'm asking today is the road to hell really paved with good intentions? That's the topic of this morning's talk. So let's talk about intentions a little bit. Have you ever said, "Well, I intended to do that, but I didn't get around to it"? Anybody ever said that? Or he had good intentions, meaning he didn't follow through, usually, right? So what is an intention? An intention should mean that it's something that we have a singular focus upon. But we often use that term to mean that there wasn't any follow-through. It might have been, I intend to. That's not really a commitment when it's said that way. I might, or I hope. I might, I meant to, I hope. I'm wishing, it's wishful thinking. I intend to lose weight someday, or one of those sorts of things. Another thing that gets associated with the word intention is this idea that the end justifies the means. So we want to achieve that by any means at all, because the end result is so important. We think it's so important to make it happen in any way we possibly can. And what a real authentic intention is when we make a decision and we make a commitment to that decision and we act upon it. So that's the image of the archer that I have in mind. I'll talk about her a little bit later. But John Wellwood wrote in Love and Awakening, all significant achievements come about through vision and intention. No one, whether artist, mountain climber, or yogi, or an entrepreneur, can persist in a long, arduous undertaking without a vision. What he or she wants to realize. Having a vision, along with a clear intention to manifest that vision, helps us persevere in the face of obstacles that inevitably arise. All right, but there is also the law of unexpected consequences. This is what happens when you have good intentions and you get bad results. So, good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I tried to find out who originally said that, and that phrasing exactly as it is not something that we can attribute to a single person. The way that it started out apparently was in the 12th century with a Christian monk who said hell is paved with good intentions, not the road to hell. I don't know how we wound up with the road also being paved with good intentions, but there it is. So here we have good intentions, and good intentions usually start off meaning well. Clearly, this pooch meant to bring something to his person. The fact that it's dynamite that's lit is immaterial. It looked like a stick to him. Seemed like a good idea to take it to his person. So we start off well. That's a good intention. We have a purity of commitment to whatever it is. But we get bogged down in all of the things that we have to do to bring it about until the compromises that take place get so convoluted that our own principles get compromised in the process. And that's when we are thinking these things. This is the only chance for this to happen. It has to happen. Otherwise, I'll never get another opportunity. It has to be me. I'm the only one who can do this. I see it. I need to do it. I want to do it. It needs to happen, and it's so worthy of happening that however I have to go about it is okay to bring it about. And it has to be now. So I can't let go of it and surrender it to the infinite, trusting the timing. It has to be now. I have to be in control of it. It has to be me. And it's so worthwhile that whatever I have to do to get it to happen and make it happen, I'm going to do it. All right? So this can set into motion kind of this sequence of unintended consequences where things begin to go very wrong. And that wasn't what you thought would happen. And it wasn't exactly what you meant to happen. But it got much worse as it went along. Are you following so far?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, good. Thank you. So when we're on that path, we're kind of in the inauthentic intentions. And we want to move into authentic intentions. The power of authentic intention is like an archer. It organizes our thought and our action. It focuses it like that very first picture. And it puts us into partnership with Spirit. So we let go then of... Hello.
Spirit.
In case you weren't here yet, the bells are chiming, to let us know it's church time. It organizes our thought and action, and it puts us into partnership with Spirit. So we begin to realize that it isn't a matter that we have to do it all ourselves, or that we have to control every single aspect of it, or that it's only us who can do it, or that it's so worth doing that we will make it happen by any means whatsoever. An archer has to commit to what she or he is aiming at. They have to breathe, they have to be centered, they have to take careful aim at the target, and then what? They have to let the arrow go. And once you let it go, you no longer have control over what it does. You have to trust that it's going to continue on the trajectory you've set, that nobody's going to step in front of it, that the wind isn't suddenly going to come up in a whoosh and blow it off course, that the target isn't going to fall over. And any of those things could happen, but maybe the likelihood is that once you let it go, it will go where you're sending it. So the archer has to be willing to let go of this thing they're so invested in order to get the result they want. You know, I've given the example in the past that an archer who really wanted to control everything could, instead of doing that, could take the arrow in their hand, run like mad down the thing and shove it into the middle of the target, but they might not have the momentum to get it in there. Plus, they could trip, you know, and fall on it themselves. You know, anything could happen. So the best result will happen when the archer takes careful aim at the target, is centered, breathes, and lets go. And that is authentic intention for us as well. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, wrote in The Science of Mind, the law follows the word. The word follows the desire. The word gives form to substance, and the principle of subjective law produces the manifestation. So it flows in that direction, from the word, from the desire to the word, to the substance, to the manifestation. What we concentrate then, Ernest Holmes says, is attention. What we concentrate is attention. That's that beam of light coming from the third eye in that first image. This is done through intention and willingness to hold thought centered until the form appears, to sustain the aim. But at the same time, in order to be in partnership with the infinite, we have to let the law do its work. We're not making the creative law do its work. We're letting it work. We're releasing what we want into the law. One of the things I didn't say last week about our prayer work, about spiritual mind treatment, is that when we release the prayer, you know, when you drop the letter into the letterbox, you can open it up, you can put your hand in there, but if you don't release the letter, it will never arrive where you're trying to send it. So when we're doing a spiritual mind treatment, we release it. We let it go into the law. We let the arrow go to where we have sent it, to the aim that we have created for it, and we let the law take it. So with the power of intention, we have to make room for spirit to participate with us. And what happens when we do that is we get two things out of it. So authentic action organizes our thought and our action, creates a partnership with spirit, and it gives us two keys. One is that with our commitment, we then get the stamina, the juice, to do our part of whatever it is. The second thing is that with the releasing, we get the guidance that we need. So sometimes I call this guidance cosmic left turns and divine rewrites. You've got a project, you're really committed to it, you're focused on the outcome, and suddenly it goes off to the left somehow. It takes on a life of its own, and you're thinking, but wait, we were going over there. But if you allow the movement, sometimes we find that the reason we got diverted is because there's something over here that we actually need to gain in order to successfully get there, but we couldn't see it from where we started. Does this make sense? Yeah. If we refuse to divert, we can force it to go where we want it to go, but generally the end result won't be as good as if we allow for the cosmic left turns and the divine rewrites in the process. Over the years, I have been, and I'm sure you have too, involved in many, many projects and events and experiences, and not one of them ever goes exactly as they were planned to go. I've done literally hundreds of weddings. No two are alike, and they all have their own little quirks that make them unique to that moment in time and that couple and that situation. No two are ever quite the same, even though the wedding ceremony is basically the wedding ceremony. So when we make space for the individualization to show up, then the real juice and color of the thing starts to happen. And it becomes more like magic. So we want to be aware of the ability to commit and to release. Those are two keys to authentic power of intention. A realized intention, when the target is hit by that arrow, and it's a bullseye, or it's getting better and better and closer to the bullseye, it's very rewarding to see that. And George Leonard, who wrote one of my favorite books, Mastery, The Keys to Success and Long-Term Fulfillment, says, intentionality fuels the master's journey. Every master is a master of vision. So the master has the end result in mind and is committed to that. And the intention is the arrow that moves it forward toward the target. And the releasing brings in all of the universe's additional guidance that allows it to go in that direction. So a realized intention clarifies the heart's desire. So right here, where this arrow goes into, where this dart goes into the bullseye, we have clarified the heart's desire right there. That's what it is. The realized intention has clarified the heart's desire. It has shifted our attention, as Ernest Holmes said. It shifts our attention from the problem to the solution, from the current circumstance to where we want to go. It puts our attention on where we're headed rather than where we've been. And so it moves us toward that solution. A realized intention also creates conscious inner alignment. So it moves us into a new being, into a new person. It moves us from who we thought we were and where we've always been into a new place, into a new seat. And when we move into the new seat, it feels wrong because it's not familiar. But it is a new us being born. And so that unfamiliarity is a good sign. It's actually a gift. That discomfort is showing us that we're moving in the direction of what it is we wanted to achieve or accomplish. Is this making sense?
Yes.
You following me here? And what happens then, too, is that we come to a place where sometimes the result of what we wanted is even more magnificent than the vision that we had in the first place. Because by going off target just a little bit here and there and gathering some of those things we didn't know we needed, there's so much more fullness when we come to the end of the project or the situation than we had imagined originally. In Matthew and Luke, there is a story about a centurion whose servant, who is very treasured by this Roman centurion, is extremely ill. His servant is extremely ill. And in Luke's version, the centurion doesn't even show up himself. He sends someone to go to Jesus and ask him to come. But in Matthew, the centurion comes to Jesus himself. And this is what happens. It says, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly. And Jesus said to him, shall I come and heal him? The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. But just say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was amazed, and said to those following him, truly, I tell you, I've not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. And then he scolds them a little bit. And then he says, and then it says, Jesus said to the centurion, go, let it be done just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that moment. This centurion took a gamble. He went to a man who was a Jew. They were under occupation by the Romans, so the centurion didn't really know how he would be received. He's a Roman soldier. He goes to a Jewish holy man and says, would you do this for me? And Jesus says, shall I come? And the centurion says, no, you don't need to do that. Just give the command and it will be so. He's taking a gamble. He's setting an aim, and as a soldier, making a commitment to that action, but he doesn't know what Jesus is going to say. He could say, get out of here, you Roman. I'm here for the Jews. He doesn't say that. He says instead, let it be done according to your vision, according to what you have committed to, according to your intention and what you've believed. And the centurion doesn't argue with him. He goes home. The servant is healed. He knows it. It's done in that moment. But he had to let it go. He made the action. He made the commitment and the action. He took a risk, and he let it go to see what the result would be. He had to let it go. And the result turned out to be what he had envisioned, or even more wonderful than he had envisioned. I want to share one last story with you this morning about the power of authentic intention. Tess was a precocious 8-year-old when she heard Mom and Dad talking about her little brother Andrew. All she knew was that he was very sick, and they were completely out of money. They were moving into an apartment complex next month because Daddy didn't think they would have the money for the doctor bills and their house. Only a very expensive surgery could save Andrew, and it was looking like there was no one who would loan them the money. She heard her daddy say to her tearful mother, only a miracle can save him now. Well, Tess went to her bedroom and pulled a glass jelly jar from its hiding place in the closet. She poured all the change out on the floor and counted it carefully. 3 times. The total had to be exactly perfect, no chance here for mistakes. Carefully placing the coins back in the jar and twisting on the cap, she slipped out the back door and made her way 6 blocks to Rexall's drugstore. At first, she waited patiently for the pharmacist to notice her. He was very busy talking with another gentleman. Finally, Tess twisted her feet to make a scuffling noise. Nothing. She then cleared her throat with the most disgusting sound she could muster. Nothing. Finally, she took a quarter from her jar and banged it on the glass counter. That did it. And what do you want? The pharmacist asked her in an annoyed tone of voice. I'm talking with my brother here from Chicago. We haven't seen each other in ages, he said, without waiting for her reply. Well, I want to talk to you about my brother, Tess answered back in the same annoyed tone. He's really, really sick, and I want to buy him a miracle. I beg your pardon, said the pharmacist. His name is Andrew, and he has something bad growing inside his head, and my daddy says only a miracle can save him now, so I want to buy one for him. How much does a miracle cost? We don't sell miracles here, little girl. I'm sorry, but I can't help you, the pharmacist said, softening a little. Listen, I have the money to pay for it. If it isn't enough, I'll get the rest. Just tell me how much one costs. The pharmacist's brother was a well-dressed man. He stooped down to her and asked, what kind of a miracle does your little brother need? I don't know, Tess replied with her eyes welling up. I just know he's really sick, and Mommy says he needs an operation, but my daddy can't pay for it, so I want to use my money. How much do you have? He asked her. $1.11, Tess answered, and it's all the money I have, but I can get some more if I need to. Well, what a coincidence, smiled the man. $1.11. That is the exact price of a miracle for little brothers. He took her money in one hand, and with the other he grasped her mitten and said, take me to where you live. I want to see your brother and meet your parents. Let's see if I have the kind of miracle you need. That well-dressed man was a surgeon specializing in neurosurgery. The operation was completed without charge, and it wasn't long until Andrew was home again and doing well. Mom and Dad were happily talking about the chain of events that had led them to this place. That surgery, their mom said, what a real miracle. I wonder how much that would have cost. Tess just grinned to herself. She knew exactly how much a miracle cost. $1.11. The beauty of this story is the commitment that the little girl made with that ultimate faith and commitment and intention to get what was needed. Now, she had to let it go to this gentleman who was there. because she didn't know what a miracle was or how to do what it was her brother needed, obviously. But her clarity, her commitment, and her releasing allowed this to come forward more beautifully than she even could have imagined. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I want to draw your attention to this incredible altar that the Frost family did for us this morning. And this represents 3 different kinds of intentions. The intention on the end is not doing so well, as you can see. It was probably planted with good intentions, but then the follow-through didn't happen. It didn't get watered, it didn't get enough sun. It's withering and dying. In the center, we have all of the tools that we could use for an intention, all of the means, all of the possibilities of what we could use. Now, those are all good things there. So by any means possible here, all of these are good things that can be used as tools, but they have to be used. And then finally, when we see that commitment used properly, we get the result, which is these beautiful plants that are flourishing over on this side of the altar, and all of the pictures and packets of seeds. So I'd like you to think for a moment right now, to close your eyes and think of an area in your life where you have wanted a change to take place. You've maybe intended to do something about it, intended to call someone, ask for something, look something up, get some advice, but you haven't gotten around to it. So I want you to think about what that is. Now, if you were to create a clear intention, if whatever the obstacles are that are in your awareness or in your imagination that are blocking that action, if those were dissolved and you felt completely comfortable about going forward, what is the very next step that you would take? The smallest possible one. What is the very next smallest possible step? And even if the smallest one seems too big for you, break it down to something smaller, some little piece of it. And now imagine seeding that in your heart, and right there in your heart, inviting the divine presence to water and fertilize that, to guide you to the next small step. And imagine that seed being surrounded with love and energy that nourishes it, and that fills you up with energy to see and know the very next step. Now imagine if you're at the end of what your desire is, that you've gone through all the process and you're at the very end, and it is in your life. It is in your life. What it was that you wanted to change or experience, it's happening right now. It's there. You feel it. You see it. You know it. All of the sensory feedback is that it has happened. How do you think you would feel emotionally or in your body? What would your environment be like if that were already there? And what kind of gratitude or appreciation would you feel? Just hang there for a second in that space. All right, now I want you to breathe out and open your eyes. Now, you have set a clear intention, anchored with vision and with emotion. The seed is now planted. What you do with that seed, where you take that intention next, that's up to you. But be aware that it doesn't have to be right now. You're not doing it by yourself. It doesn't require that you sacrifice all your principles to do it and accomplish it. It's yours. And the right timing will be shown to you as you remain committed to nurturing that seed and just taking the next small step. Everybody breathe. We have begun the power of intention. Namaste. Now, step with me into prayer. Let's take this into our fiery hearts into prayer. I'd like you now to know that right where that seed is planted, God is. Right where that seed of intention is planted, the unlimited spirit with infinite possibilities, with infinite power, with infinite knowing, is seeing that seed. The seed itself is made from this one. All of its potential is the spirit in opportunity and possibility. And love itself brought this seed into being, brought it into your awareness, brought it into your desires. Love itself caused this seed to be planted this morning in soil within you that will be fertile if you let it. And so we invite fertility into the soil that enfolds this good seed. We invite nourishment, sunlight, rain. We invite minerals and food and fellowship and love and abundance and joy and wholeness and prosperity. We invite spiritual uplift, illumination and love. And we let it deepen. We let the roots deepen so that love is flowing from this seed in our hearts. It's flowing outward into our whole body. It's flowing outward into this space, into everyone around us. And the love that is flowing outward from us is intermingling with all of the rest of the love in this room. And it is expanding down into the floorboards and up to the ceiling until this room is so full it seeps out into Corte, Madera. And it extends outward in every direction to the center of the earth, out into space, throughout the planet, to Mother Earth and all the living things on it, everything manifesting. And yet the great fullness of this love has not left us. It is in its totality still right where we are. So we accept the change taking place in us for our greater good. We welcome it. We let go of the past now and step forward with confidence toward that target that dwells partly in the unknown. We step forward toward it with confidence of the centurion or the little girl, knowing that the way is clear, that our steps are guided and directed, and that all is well. So we can let go. And we do that right now. We let go of this prayer into the creative law of mind and spirit, where it is already being acted upon. We let it go and we trust and we let it be in its perfect rightness and timing right now. And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you, practitioners.
Would the ushers please come forward? This is our offering time, and if you are here for the first time, your gift is a gift to us, all of us. And we hope you come back. And for the rest of you, would you please put your pledge card over your heart and follow with this wonderful gift to us and but to hold. This gift is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and prosper.